You know how to deal with a sucker punch? Get off your phone and stop being distracted, right? It's the same idea I try and teach a lot of my students is I love listening to music, but if I'm outside listening to music, I only have one earbud in. Putting two in prevents me from hearing a lot of, well, possibly any attacks from happening, but even cars on the road, right? So being able to prevent something, that's situational awareness. And the more aware you are of your surroundings or your situation, it's gonna give you a better chance of preventing that sucker punch from happening. But it doesn't mean that it's not gonna happen. So in the video you've seen, I just kind of clocked them. So worst case, or I guess second best worst case, because worst case is getting hit. Next thing is trying to control where that hit is coming. Hits on the side of your face, in your mandible, in your jaw, or in the temple, or the ear, all of those are going to be incredibly painful. So it's going to feel counterintuitive, but we actually want to turn and face our attacker. So if you turn and face and the punch comes at you, tuck the chin in as much as you can so that you're not taking damage to your nose, but at least you're alleviating the damage to the sides of the face. We want to be taking the hit off the top of the head itself, right where the hairline meets your face or your forehead. When I trained a police officer once, he told me that he shot a subject with a 9mm. It actually entered through the skull and the skin, but it didn't penetrate the skull. It wrapped around and the bullet actually exited out the rear. True or not, I don't know, but I know I've hit dudes in the forehead before and it hurts your hand quite a bit. So with that being said, if I can tuck this down, and again, my chin's tucked in, maybe there's a better chance of me taking less damage. That's all we're trying to do is just prevent big shots from happening so I don't end up on the ground and in an even worse situation. Let's go one step better. We turn and we face, and now my hands are reacting. What's kind of natural for our body is the turtle position, where I shrug my shoulders as high as I can, I tuck my head down, and I try and save myself. This is kind of built into us, and we see it in boxing quite a bit, where the shoulder actually protects that chin. But if you're fast enough, or if you have training where your hands are used to being up by your face or even up high, it's just gonna give you a better chance of, again, taking the least amount of damage. The wing cover I teach is a touch different because I like to protect my occipital. I don't know the angle that's gonna be coming in on the punch. So I take my hand and I control where that is. So the occipital, right where your skull ends and where your spine comes in, there's a point right there that if hit hard enough and at the right angle, you could actually die. So I'd rather have my hand in front of that, break my fingers if they smashed it, then obviously end up on the ground. So while I'm doing that, that's in here. I'm gonna suck in everything nice and tight. I'm gonna try and, if I had both hands up, touch my elbows together. That's my goal of this, is still to control the center line as much as I can while I have my wing cover up. I'm squeezing all this in tight. Here, we don't wanna have space that a punch can get through, right? So a lot of my students, they do this because they're too high with it, suck this in. And that matters more than having it right on the center. So if you have smaller arms, I have very long arms, it's easier for me. You might have to do that where your center line is open. But again, we're protecting the vulnerable areas of the skull as much as we can. Now, what's gonna happen after that? We don't know. Like, that's a whole nother fight. We're just talking about the sucker punch, or a punch that you're not expecting. So we're literally talking about tenths of a second or half of a second. So the more situationally aware we are, the more aware that something may be coming, it again betters our chances. So let's say now, best case scenario, I see the attack coming. Okay, we call this the holy shit block. So we modify kind of everything we're doing together. This was taught in virtually every martial art of training, you see quite a bit. I'm throwing an X up. So while I'm throwing the X up, I'm still rolling the shoulders up, tucking my chin down. I'm not gonna tuck just for the mic right now so you guys can hear me. And I'm gonna throw my hands up. Okay, and what that's doing is it's creating an X or a triangle. Okay, in Wing Chun Kung Fu, we understand that when we put a wedge out there, we control the center line and then things will deflect off of that center line. When I put my arms either right over left or left over right into that position, we can see that triangle that's been created. Now there's almost this like catching space. I don't even care about catching it. Again, that's best case scenario. Right now we're just trying to maintain or get contact with where that attack is. So as Eric comes at me, I just throw my hands up. I just put them forward. I'm tucking that chin down. In this case here, my right hand and right leg are forward. My right hand is low. So now I bring in a little bit of my trapping skills. I'm gonna roll and turn this over, okay? So my right hand, bong sao, my left hand, tan sao. If you don't speak Wing Chun, don't worry about it. Just turn your body to the side. Rip this arm down and fire a chop out right away. Okay, this could be a back fist, could be a hammer fist. I personally don't care. What we're really trying to do is know where that hand is. Say if his hand is where it is, no, if his hand is where it is right now, if I hit and I hit his face, then it gives me a chance to hit again. But what I'm trying to build is chop hit, something happening. Or in this case, left hand, right hand, left hand. But you see what Eric did right away when something's coming at his face, he puts something out. So when that happens, something comes out, he blocks. From here, I rip that down and I hit again. But if you notice, my sequential pattern has stayed the same. And that's what I'm trying to do in my mind. What Wing Chun and sensitivity drills like that are taught in Filipino martial arts or even in BJJ is that when something is coming at you, you're gonna feel where it is. And when you feel it, that tells you how to hit. See where his elbow is? I'm not gonna throw a Wing Chun punch right now because it's kind of like he's blocking with a bong sao. So now I'm gonna throw more of an overhand or more of a circular strike or maybe a hungar forearm. Like there's so many options that you can hit here and you should be exploring with it and playing with it. But one of my favorites is actually not hitting people, it's controlling their elbows. The reason why is if that hand, say, came out with a cross punch, he threw that 1-2, my guard is here. I'm not in a pretty good place here to hit him. If you look, our center line is pretty even. That's the start of his center line, that's the start of my center line, so we're kind of in the shared center. When this happens here, his elbow's wide open. So now again, that sequential pattern's the same. Left hand comes next. So now my left hand controls the elbow. If I'm powerful enough, I can just turn and move him. And that's if I'm bigger and stronger. But what if I'm not bigger and stronger? What if this comes this way? Oh, sorry. That's okay. Punch. Thank you. And we get that elbow, and they're way bigger than you, then use this. He's so strong to move yourself off. So the concept here in Aikido is don't move the mountain, move away from it. I'm here, and I move myself off of it. It's just like the wall. If you want to practice it on the wall, I can't move the mountain of the wall, so I push myself off the wall. And that gives you a chance to get away. But everybody loves smashing somebody, including myself. So if this comes this way, this comes here. Sequential pattern's this. But now maybe you have to do like a little bit of both. So you pull. See how his face is wide open right now? I'm going to distract him with this top hand. He can block that. That's fine. I'm going to hit him with this hand. So now we kind of get this flowy Tai Chi, right side, left side. It's a really cool feeling when you get good at it. So right hand chop, left hand elbow control. Control, threaten. If that hits him, that's straight up out of like wrestling, right? You know, the old DDT kind of idea, right? Or clothesline, sorry, as I come through, fantastic. But most people put their hand up. Once he puts that hand up, see how that energy pushed back into my body, and that's what fires that punch. So in a little bit of real time, and go. Awesome, thank you. There is no perfect scenario, but when it comes to preventing you from, or how to avoid a sucker punch from hitting you, then you gotta think about that. What can you do to prevent it from happening? You have to be aware of your surroundings. What if we're in a fight? We're squaring off with this one person that's in front of us that has been beaking the whole time. And if you're not aware of what their friends are doing, then you've probably never been in a fight. Because in the last 22 years on this earth, I haven't seen a fair fight. It's always been multiple attackers and multiple people. So you have to be aware if there are other people involved in this fight, and there's a video that's going viral right now with an MMA fighter and two guys going with it, right, or going to attack him. He does a great job of knowing where both of those attackers are. And when one of them starts to approach this way, he's actually seeing this is the guy that's gonna punch him. That's excellent situational awareness. And that's what we gotta really take home about this. You wanna prevent a sucker punch from happening? For sure, do it with good situational awareness, but that's not always the case. So with that being said, what we need to do is alleviate how much damage we're taking so we can get into the fight. Because a lot of times you're gonna get hit and now you're like, holy shit, I didn't know I was in a fight. But if you can throw a cover up or throw a holy shit block out or something, even if it's just your forehead, is going to be better than getting smashed and possibly ending up in a ground fight. But you only know it if you train it, so train your ass off.